Okay. First of all, I just want to start off by saying thank you, God. And you know why I'm thanking God. I becoming more and more believer of God. And even though things are terrible with me, things are only going to get worse, and I'm just prepping myself for the worst. But I understand this worst is happening because these perps partaking this wanted to create a fantasized reality where they recreate reality in these disgusting ways. And the failure of what they were trying to accomplish was the one thing that can be failed. Everything else is unfailable, meaning that there's no way to fail what they do in that sense. The failure was for me to identify with how they manipulate me. Never. That failed drastically. These ways they've been acting, the psyops, this theatrics of acts and ways they wanted to make me think that it was me and try to act like, that felt big time. It's humiliating. And I've been consistently putting that in their faces. It's nasty. And I'm so thankful that I was able to at least every time document everything they do. At this point, it's just clear. I've been saying that for years, and it's just obvious. And to now find this level of validation where the writings and the documented ability of what this technology could do in such a long time back in the 60s, and today just imagine how far ahead it can be now. It's just another level. And the psyops is so delusional. You have this childlike individual who wants you to believe that what they're doing is not manipulating your brain, but they're mapping and mining and altering and not altering, pairing and all this ways to try to make it sound like they're not making you experience this. Try to utilize different tactics of psychological kind of trickeries that for big time failure. It sounds like a child trying to make you convince you to something, and you don't respect them. You see them for the shit that they are. Try to normalize at this point what they do, because the truth is what they're involved in and how they manipulate the brain is so disgusting. They're very pedophilia centric. That's what they do. Then they try to convince you that this pedophilia type of experiences that you're forced to experience is just what they mind, they map, when in truth, they just rewind your brain in such a disgusting ways for the purpose of breaking you down. And the truth, to find out the level of truth that the entities who've been developing this weapon system for decades, contracting this truth, this trash of human beings, this nothingness, this cowards, this bottom feeders, these nobodies that they're obviously nothings. Are actually entities full of pedophiles, and these trash are just the bottom feeders trying to make you believe this retardation. If you saw who's talking to you, you'll be like, oh my gosh. At least for me, as a target individual, the perps are so childish and disgusting clowns who's not even conscious of what they deserve. They're just nothings, and you know that very well, and then you know what they really are. They know at this point you don't look at them like, these people are the people in charge. They're mining trash. But the thing that scares me is like they're not even understanding of what they deserve. Like at this point, they're aligned to be harmed. I'm not saying I'm going to harm them, but you have accepted to be somebody who can be victimized at this point because you're doing these things. And it's just so clear what you're involved in. And they still try to be childish, like, no, we're mining. Shut the fuck up. They've been torturing children. Excuse me. They've been altering the mind since the 60s. And you think retards like you can make me believe this when I know what you do? It's so disgusting. Let me give you a quick snippet. I'll share the link. This is how crazy and obvious things are. This is nothing new. It's old. I just kind of paid attention to it a little bit more in the sense that I'll give you some details. There'll be a link here of an interview that happened, I think, in the early 2000s or so. Actually, a while ago. It was two Swedish artists that went to interview somebody called Jose Delgado. Now, Jose Delgado is a name that you're going to hear a lot when it comes to this technology, because in the 60s he was one of the early stage of like how to alter human mind and control human mind. He wrote books about it, and he was able to create and experiment in, use human subjects at some points, but started off with animals. He was able to rewire and alter and put wires into bulls and other animals, even monkeys and all kind of apes. And in the 60s, he was already able to turn off some part of the brain, do this and that, using this technology of brain surgery. Then he started getting involved in things where he wanted to try out things to do like remotely. In this interview, this artist, right, they were talking to this man, and then they were trying to get all the information. He was a little bit hesitant and whatnot to say a lot of things because it also included human subjects, right? But there was already documented proof that he was using human subject too. He even, at the time, they were also using, like, there was a woman that had like schizophrenia. They implanted a 12-centimeter kind of device in her brain. This woman started being manipulated, and her brain was being influenced to the point where she would get sexual arousals, anger, and at some point she could words were coming out of her mouth that she wasn't trying to say. This is in the 60s. Okay. He was being funded by the Naval Research Office and some areas, some kind of Air Force entity, the department. Okay. He was a civilian, a scientist. He was able to accomplish that. In the midst of that was happening, there was other program called Program Pandora that was happening, which was the DARPA. Now, they were trying to find a way without creating surgery, without implanting surgery, anything in the brain, just using some kind of electronic magnetic technology to influence the brain without implanting anything. Those two were happening at the same time, or around the same time period, where they tried to manipulate me. While other type of similar things were happening in regard of like altering the mind, with drugging and all kind of things. What he was able to do on his own is just crazy enough. Now, he's a civilian. He's able to talk about it in a little bit more open way. Obviously, everything was mentioned. But DARPA was also doing other things, using more sophisticated technology where there's no devices implanted. We're talking about the 60s. He even, at some point in this interview, said, I wish I was able to use this technology that this program is doing, because this electromagnetic technology will make it even better, because I don't have to implant anything in somebody's brain. I could do these things to the ape or to whatever without implanting anything. Saying that would be amazing, because if I can influence the brain of these apes without implanting. That would be even the perfect. I wish I had this technology, because I could do what I could do now without implanting. Like, this is all in interview, right? Clearly stating that this is what they were working on in the 60s. You have clowns around you, some retards of all sorts, who still try to convince you that you're not being manipulated when you are validating this level. This is a little snippet. Now, of course, Target Vigil, we've been dealing with that for years. So Target Vigil, a while ago, was like, oh, they're doing this. It gave us validation. So, of course, this article is not an article that is believing in being Target Vigil. It's mainstream, right? So they obviously don't think that the government is using human subject to do these things. So they see Target Vigil as people who are not mentally stable, as this is how it's designed to be. This is what they were saying.
From up to 30 meters away. Even his wife was delighted to see the alpha male given collapse when the underlings pushed the control lever. Do you remember how we thought of Franco, says his wife. Imagine being able to turn off the generalissimo. Delgado responds, but who could have put the electrodes into the dictator? With electromagnetic radiation we could have controlled the dictator from a distance. We did some experiments at Yale where we influenced the brain from up to 30 meters away. One of the most important reasons why we wanted to meet Delgado is that we imagined him and his activities as belonging to a borderland between fiction and reality, between science and madness. People in psychotic states of mind often feel themselves controlled by foreign voices or spend their lives trying to prove that they have had a transmitter implanted inside their skulls that dictates their actions and thoughts all day and night.
They're talking about target visual. You understand this? This is a article not believing in target visual, but they still talk about the ability of what this technology was doing. What he was saying about electromagnetic, they were talking about this is in the 60s.
We asked Delgado what he thinks of the fact that his research provides a realistic edge to such fantasies.
The fantasies they're talking about is how target visual are saying we're being manipulated and altered. And Delgado, in the 60s, was working on technology for the sole purpose to be able to alter and manipulate the brain.
He answers that he has on several occasions been contacted by strangers who say they want to have their implants removed, and also that he has been sued by people he has never seen.
These are target visual who think that Delgado is the one specifically putting that in the... Obviously, target visual will get desperate. But the truth is, this is old stuff. I don't think they implanted things in my brain. They, just like he said about electromagnetic, which he wishes he could have used, as you heard early on. This is the type of technology where things to us are done remotely. They don't need to implant anything. They're working on things to be able to alter the mind without implantation of anything. You heard him say that. This is an interview with people who don't believe in target visual. But you hear him say, oh, I wish we could have used this like remote technology where we can influence the brain remotely. Talk about 30 meters. We try to do this from 30 minutes to implant.
Otto is silent about the article that appeared in the Spanish monthly magazine Tiempo last year, where he was interviewed about exactly such accusations. The Tiempo reporter claimed...
This is an actual interview. The man literally said, I wish we had this technology to be able to influence so we don't have to. This trash today around me, because they created this ecosystem of people who are supposed to make you believe these nasty manipulations are not just manipulations. It's just them just observing, exposing me. Do you know the childlike individuals they're using? Either they're adults who become children mentally because they want to negate this, or they're actually children that just think they're a war. Because this is the validation that I've been saying. But it's old. Of course I know these things. This is more official writing of like the Project Pandora, where they say how they experiment monkeys with electromagnetic technology to see how they're able to influence them. This paperwork on all the methods of whatever they can show. This trash want to create a story around this, a psyop of just retardations who clearly want to negate that they are manipulating your brain to have these experiences. And they use this childlike shit, retards, who's supposed to block reality. The things they just did to me 2 seconds ago were so disgusting. But this is a typical thing. It was so fast, but boom, nasty. It's always this degrading pedophilia type of tormenting tactics. That's the things they do for us, because this is how they break us down. It's a breakdown tactic. Now, unique to me, it's always going to be perverse in these pedophilia ways. Not perverse in the way that an adult man can be perverse toward a woman. No, children, they do this into babies of all ages. And then they have this shit around you that's supposed to break you down. This is one of the shit yesterday. I almost lost my life, my mind. They creepy, and you see what they're doing. This creep trash living next to me. She was like, you're gonna be a bitch, and this is like, I'd rather you die a bitch than do what you do. Whatever you do, this is that you're involved in. You're a nasty low life. I already died in hell. These things, the things they say to try to negate the horror that they're involved in. Try to recreate realities. Now this is our hell. What is it, trash? I was like, yeah, this is not this massive government that's been developing this weapon system since the 60s by some fucking psyop of some feminism or whatever, avenging bullshit. They're trying to present themselves as they manipulate your brain this way, using the most immature childlike individuals because they want me to be on the level of these retards that don't even have the concept of what they've aligned themselves into. Delusional shit. This is the nastiest thing they just did 2 seconds ago. As I'm saying that, the level of deflection, they tell me I'm fired. They have these tactics because, like I said, psychologically, I'm being manipulated in this degrading way, like you heard this man say, right? That this technology is about altering. They do this thing, but on top of that, they have a layer of perps who pipe their voices via V2K and deflect. So right now, because I'm about to show what they did to me, they say, oh, you're going to be fired, right? They're not letting me know I'm being fired just to let me know right now. It's because they want to deflect. It's part of gaslighting tactics. Disorienting the target individual, because this is the things that just made me experience. And they wanted me to think about something else. Think about how you're going to be poor. Don't show what we just made you experience not too long ago. Let me see. This is what. It's so nasty. And it was... I'm half closing my eyes because I know they do these things. So, this is so nasty. It's going to happen really quickly too. I'm watching this. They're going to... So, I'm watching this. This here. It's some kind of like, I forgot the name of it. It's like a seal. And you see how the seal grabbed the child, and then the underwear, they're gonna make me see this kid. It was so quick. Because this seal grabbed this child, and the child was wearing a dress, and as she's falling, her legs are spread, and you can see the underwear. They start making me imagine this thing in a sexual way. It was so disgusting. So disgusting. And they stimulated me. And start to imagine me, like make me imagine some disgusting thing, because this kid, when she got pulled down by this seal, the legs were spread because she was sexually went in my brain in this sexual way, manipulating me to have this perception of this in a sexual way. That's what they do. This is how refined. What you heard here is what this man was doing in the 60s. Let me just say, in my lifetime, I'm not old, right? I'm in my midlife at this point. I've seen a lot of changes in technological abilities. This is what this man was doing in the 60s.
Work at the Ramon White Institute in the 1930s. In order to nature in his own way in Bermuda. One of the most important reasons why we wanted to meet Delgado is that we imagined him and his activities as belonging to a borderline between fiction and reality, between science and madness. People in psychotic states of mind often feel themselves controlled, a response, but who could have put the electrodes into the given collapse when the underlings pushed the control lever?
This is in the 60s.
Do you remember how we thought of Franco? Says his wife.
Franco is an experiment.
Being able to turn off the generalissimo.
Franco is one of the lead chimpanzee they were using, right? They were experimenting on a group of chimpanzee. Franco was the leader of this pack, I guess, of this family of chimpanzee. They implanted something into his brain, and they were able to turn him and turn off. Actually, they were able to make a monkey do that to this. This is how crazy he was. He was experimenting on chimpanzees. And one of for the leader, he implanted one of the monkey with this device in his brain. And then they trained this lower class monkey, female monkey, to know how to turn on and off the brain of this monkey. So it will, I guess, makes the monkey just shut down or something like that. But that monkey was at that point, because there's like some class level, right, in this like chimpanzee structure. She was a low-class chimpanzee, but because she knew how to use this device that they created, and they were making her use it, or teaching her how to use it somehow, this monkey was able to turn off using the button. This monkey, the lead monkey, that's in the 60s, making monkeys know how to use the device that can shut down a lead monkey. This is what they were doing in the 60s.
Delgado responds, but who could have put the electrodes into the dictator? With electromagnetic radiation, we could.
Now he's talking about electromagnetic radiation, because that was the sophisticated technology DARPA was working at the same time, which you don't have to implant anything in the brain at this point. Remotely, you can influence the brain. No implantation needed. 60s, 1960s.
Control the dictator from a distance.
That's why he's like, I wish I had the technology to be able to do this remotely, like electromagnetic radiation, because at that point we can control from afar. So if there's a dictator, we can control them, because they're calling this Franco being a dictator because the monkey was just like I guess, in charge of everything. In the 60s, they're talking about this. So you want me to...
Did some experiments at Yale where we influenced the brain from up to 30 meters away.
With this technology, they try to influence people's brain from 30 meters away. We're talking about 60s. Like, for me, obviously, I knew that this is what was happening at the time because I already know about this Project Pandora, and then, but to hear him say that with his own mouth and being documented to this level, and this clowns around here just want me to think I'm now being altered and manipulated. You understand the disgusting shit? And of course, this is in the 60s, so the manipulation, of course, there is probably not as refined as it is today. For sure not. Can you imagine the level of sophistication it is today if they were able to manipulate the brain in the 60s today? Jesus. These people didn't have cell phone. They didn't even have internet at the time. The internet was not even something. I don't even think computers were like really a thing. And that's what they were able to do.
One of the most important reasons why we wanted to meet Delgado is that we imagined him and his activities as belonging to a borderland between fiction and reality, between science and madness. People in psychotic states of mind often feel themselves controlled by foreign voices or spend their lives trying to prove that they have had a transmitter implanted inside their skulls that dictates their actions and thoughts all day and night.
He's talking about dark individual. I don't think I'm implanted where I don't. And if there's implantation, there's no need. I know the technology is way sophisticated. Even then, he was saying that we don't even need to implant anything if you use electromagnetic radiation. He was saying that himself, saying, "Oh, if I had that technology, it would be, if we use electromagnetic radiation, then we won't have to do that." And what you're hearing is other people, target individuals, who are saying these things. Oh, and I'm surrounded by people like this who wants me to think that I'm not being manipulated to experience that. So he said whatever things you say, yeah, pills, no, trash. You are forcing me to have this nasty sex reaction, perception towards children. And this is a tactic they've done to others. It's nasty. So some of the test subjects are children. They're nasty low life. They're nasty low life. This is the things they do to target individual, which I will never let them live their fantasy. And the way they've been trying to present themselves, like, oh, we're just mean, huh? Like, yes, you're low life trash. But they're nothings. Obviously, I know this low life is nothing. Would I ever think that this is the person like, no, this contracted. His job is to make me think that I'm not being manipulated. That's it. His job is just make me think that nothing is happening. But I'm never going to let these people live their fantasy. And I've been making sure that these people who do these things clearly, that other target individuals have mentioned. You see, Robert Duncan, may he rest in peace. This man did so much to help target individuals understand what's happening. Once you understand it, at least one portion of what they can do is destroyed. You should never identify. You see, this target individual try to prove that everybody's aware that what this technology is able to do is disturbingly sophisticated. They love what they're capable of doing to you. They love the fact they can participate in a program that can manipulate the brain in this way. But they want to paint themselves as something else, or that what they're involved in, and paint this program as something else, as they are forcing men and women to have this reaction for the purpose of losing their mind, making them lose their mind, making me lose my mind. It's degrading. But you see this trash there that's supposed to gaslight you. But things like that validates us in so many ways.
Paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
Because they rewind the brain in this degrading.
Do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War. You can call it a eugenics program, but also walk them to they want to see if they can hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define the probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Well, you can't control me. I have my own free will.
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as...
You get it? And the sexual arousals. Because when that happened with this, for example, the kid that they put, stimulation immediately. Or like after when they start stimulating me. You know how long ago they were able, this Jose Delgado was at one point started experimenting on human beings, schizophrenic. And this is an example of what he experienced. He saw it where it's been experienced.
That Delgado has ties with the Spanish secret police. He's at that time together with my good friend David Koskov. It was Koskov who carried out the lobotomy on the robber. The doctor arm on his shoulder and says, and very little has happened. Sieber has come out of his research. In the 1960s and 70s was heralded as a great contribution to science. To demonstrate the power of their invention, Delgado and his colleagues orchestrated violent scenes in the lab. Then a mild she stares blankly ahead. Suddenly she grabs her guitar and smashes it against the wall, narrowly missing the psychiatrist's head point too. The same incident was described in one of Delgado's own articles. This experiment was repeated 3 days in a row. If there were any problems with the experiments for Delgado, these were not ethical in nature but technical. How do you replicate the lab situation in society? How do you cut off the electricity to the stomach Sieber? How do you avoid scarring and inflammation where the stomach Sieber enters the brain? But the problems did not provoke any doubts about the supposed success of the stomach Sieber. In the long run, the technique could be used to make people happy from a distance. When did you stop the stomach Sieber experiments? We asked him. Beginning to have trouble following him. Delgado pours coffee with his trembling hand. There is no emphasis on neurophysiology in any of them. The expansive jungle, the landscape of the brain and the soul. Apparently Delgado never got very far into the myself. We ask if it is possible to learn to interpret the but what does that prove? a box on your stomach with cables. For a moment, we wonder if we'll have to take out one of his own scientific articles and hold it in front of.
Okay, that's where he start talking about some of the experimentation on human beings.
As evidence. We start to look for our file with hundreds of medical reports and articles. You have to understand, he says. There are incredibly stringent rules around experimenting on humans. All the experiments I was involved in had a therapeutic goal. They were for the patient's best. In one of the Yale reports in our file, there is a description of an experiment on an epileptic mental patient. The report states that the woman has been in asylums for a long time.
Sorry, she was not schizophrenic, but she has seizure issue.
She is worried about her daughter, and suffers from economic hardship. Electrodes measuring 12 centimeters have been stuck into her brain, 5 centimeters of them inside the brain tissue. She is interviewed while being given periodic electrical stimulation. The woman is tossed between various emotional states and finds that strange words are coming to her mind. She experiences pain and sexual desire. At the end of the interview, she becomes flirty and her language becomes.
So with this basic technology where they implanted 12 centimeter things into her brain and them stimulating this brain part, they were able to create stimulations and sensations and anger. This is in the 60s using basic technology. So you tell me in the 60s they can create sexual stimulation, today you can't do that? Trash are disgusting because they do these things and they want me to look at them like, nah, we're just mapped in the ICU. So nasty. They force you to have sexual stimulation. They're like, ah, children. So nasty. And it's documented. Other target individuals are calling the fact that their sexual arousals are just manipulated. And they make you have this reaction and this nasty low life. I will never let them lift the fence and see when everything is clearly there for target individuals to understand. Like, you're being manipulated in ways to please. When you see these perps, their job is simple. They want you to think that you're not being manipulated. A lot of the psyops is consisting of just trying to make you feel guilty for what they're manipulating you to experience. I guess it's part of this breaking down of my ego. Because it's clear that they're able to do this thing.
Torture programs, like it's based on sex and trauma. So they want to traumatize you, then use your libido to get back at you, and
This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal.
But that's old. That's the easy part. The easy part is those manipulations that can be arousals and whatnot. The sophistication comes in the perceptions, the thought process. That is where now things are coming to, this is the latest. This is where things are being more and more advanced. Maybe Delgado was not able to literally like implant thoughts at the time, but was able to create motion and stimulation and sensations whenever they want. Stimulation, anger, this is the easy. The next step is when it becomes to implant thought process. Think this way. Think this. That's with time, evolution. You can hear this woman was already saying things that she wasn't. Words were coming that she wasn't planning. While the DARPA was working on technology where, first of all, we don't need to implant things anymore. We can do that remotely. And then can you imagine how refined it has gone through the years? They weren't even using computers. Or the computers they use, can you imagine what kind of computers they were using? It's disgusting. But you gotta be strong. And this trash around you are sole purpose. Their life right now is to negate this. I'm supposed to think it's their research and these fucking clowns. Opportunities and they're psyops because this is a government-led program. This whole thing is orchestrated by these governmental entities that have been developing this weapon system. So now it's not just the technology, but also the psychological psychological tactics of tormenting the target individual. confusing the target individual. It's psychological in the sense of, okay, we present this, we have everybody around him think she's gonna start thinking, and it's clear. And they have these ways of trying to, okay, no, but we are at war. Okay. We're just test subjects. If you're at war, it's not against us. You're at war with something else that has nothing to do with us, because we're just guinea pigs. Nasty trash. And they contract this nothingness. You think these people are some childlike retards. They just contract. It was so nasty. And then yesterday, because some of the test subjects, you heard me bring up Megan. Megan, first of all, thank you so much for your testimonials. Thank you. Right now, what they try to do with me is they try to make me think that we are attention, die for it, do this. And what they bring up, and the reason why they do that, they manipulate my brain these pedophile ways and make me think that what we're doing, we're just making your brain be the brain you were when you were a kid. This is high. It was a trash, never. Because they bring up what I did as a child in 8th grade, when I'm 13, 14 years old, to make me think that they're doing that to have dangerous die for it when they're involved in a program that use human subject in these disgusting ways. And they torture even children are also test subjects. Many have died. But they want to involve themselves in that, like, now what we're doing. It's like, it's part of this, like, these psyops. That they involve in a program that is using human subject, altering their brain in these disgusting ways. But they're not manipulating their brain because they're mapping to you as a kid. Die for it, clown. And this is a woman who destroyed the psyop in a magical way. Destruction of a psyop this completely, because what they're involved in is torturing women and children. Many are dying. So many are suffering. Whole family. And you have this trash here who is trying to negate the fact that this woman is a target individual. But her life is even worse, because since as a child, she just dealt with terrible things. And she did this video. Megan, thank you for this.
You were beautifully and wonderfully made, and you are a child of God. God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. Have a good day.
You see the end, the kiss there? Now you see this woman, first of all. Her name is Megan. Megan, if you're watching my videos, I appreciate you for all the videos you made, because what you've done here, because all these psyops around me are supposed to convince me in this false reality that this program is out here avenging and protecting, and that the truth is they know what they're involved in is killing women just like you, children too. Slow death, using all this technology, utilizing on children and women, manipulating the brain in the most degrading ways. I don't know if you have gotten the manipulation, but a lot of target individuals, we deal with manipulation of thought processes so degrading that meant to torment us to death. That pedophilia centric. You heard that the target individual say that. What they're trying to create for me, it's like they act like they're avenging. This woman, Megan, her childhood has been so disturbing. What have happened to her? She's been raped and molested by her father, by other powerful people. Powerful people that she calls out. But today, as a grown woman, she's getting hit with this technology that is harming her private part. She calls herself a target individual because what's happening to her is similar to a lot of target individual. This is one of her last full videos she made. And she says this at the end.
Talk about shit like the government vetting people to be in high-ranking positions by making them rape children and kill them.
She's referring that she was raped, and she's claiming it was somebody who was high-ranked when she was a child. That's the reality. And the most disgusting part is there's an issue of pedophilia in this governmental entities that are developing this weapon system. You keep hearing me saying this bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act. The DoD was being ranked for having some of the most child porn in the United States. So it is a disturbing issue happening there, and it's validated. Now this woman was raped, molested, abused, sexually, and every other way you can imagine, by her father, by powerful people. And she thinks that that's why she's in this program now. or she's in this program where she's being used as a test subject. She's getting horrible things happening to her body, remotely. Sexual torture remotely hitting her, torturing even her brain. She has like vibrations, typical things that target individual deal with. Now, why am I saying that? When she does this thing here,
You are beautifully and wonderfully made, and you are a triumphant power. God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. Have a good day.
you see what she's trying to do here? She's encouraging us target individual, because every day this trash around you are trying to make you think that you're the less, you're nothing, you're this and that. And she's just letting you, as target individual, know that we're not nothing. She's encouraging. She's a good, but you can see in her eyes things are not easy. Things are hard. You can see she's on the edge, but still trying to encourage others. This trash tried to make me think, no, all along she's a perp now because she did her kids like that. You know why they do that? What they're trying to do is, when I was a kid in 8th grade, as a child, whatever I did to myself, there's something where that was about to happen that I stopped as a child. And they want me to imagine that she kissed it, now she didn't. Thank God, even though I was a child that was not very developed mentally, I knew that this was just not supposed to happen. And thankfully, it didn't happen. But that's the brain of a child. A kid in 8th grade. So they're trying to like, no, she didn't, because she saw what you did when you were kids. Like, first of all, this woman was molested and tortured molested and raped and abused by her father. And you think she knows a child is capable of doing stupid things? And it's not, but I know it has nothing to do. They want you to start connecting things that didn't connect. So they can think, oh, you see, everybody knows. Like, first of all, I will never let you leave your fantasy. They are here killing women like that, torturing even children. And try to make me think of a child brain who's not even fully developed. Not even a child that just turned 14. Not even just like in 14 years old. No, like early 14. Not even perhaps not barely about to become 14, if not 14. And to make me think that they're doing the avenging because they're severely tortured children. And women like that are being tormented. And now she's just giving us a kiss as target individuals because we need comfort and encouragement. And you want me to rewire my thought processes now? At one point she even talks about starving to death. It's like, oh, you see, she's talking about you're gonna starve to death. At one time when she's like, you wink yourself, and then because for me they like the wink, they want me to start thinking, oh, she's a perp. That's how they play with you. No, she has nothing to do with me. She's living life, talking to all of us, target individual, and encouraging us in whatever ways. And it's for me, why are they doing that? It's simple. They want me to think that this type around me are just a group of they're supporting women in this program and this and that bullshit. You're involved in a program that is torturing them. And of course, because they're in this program, they are manipulating people. So this woman can be easily manipulated to do this. And I'm supposed to think, oh, she's talking about me. Oh, so they are supporting this woman. No, trash. You're involved in a program that's killing her. Delusional shit. And they failed. Because they wanted to paint themselves as protectors. Well, no, this shit deserves to die. This woman is encouraging us, but you want me to start connecting this thing because I guess to make me think, oh, you see, she did this, so she's with us. We're helping her, supporting her. They're so disgusting, and they've been doing that before. It's like, okay, that's because you. And of course, they know what this person is going to post. She's being controlled too. On top of that, she talks about how she got vibration in her head and feel like this. Some of her posts here is literally mentioning this thing here where she's like, have you experienced high emotion regarding political matters? If yes, do you believe EMF could cause this? She knows this control. These clowns want me to just think that they're supporting this woman when she's out here dying slowly. Her last video talks about how she's just shocked, but this what's happening to her. And just mad that so much is happening to her friend. She's trying to become a Russian citizen. Sorry. She was seeking, in this video that you saw, she was sick. She at one point tried to seek Russian asylum, refugee asylum in Russia. And it didn't work out because they blocked her from doing that. Which maybe it was a good thing because Russia, it will still happen there. That was the last video. Target individuals, stay strong. I know things are gonna look bad. I'll get sick like they do because this technology make people sick, diseases, cancers, and tumors, and all sorts. They talk about leukemia and whatever. It's like whatever it is no longer natural. So I'm not even gonna think I'm being sick. I'm being killed slowly. Target individuals, stay strong. These trash are involved in a program that's abusing, torturing, killing women and children, and want us to look at them as something else. Even trying to make me believe that this technology that has been developing since the 60s, manipulating your brain in whatever fashion, is their research, their mapping, and using this psyop of fucking low-life shit that's trying to negate the reality that involved in the program that's killing women like Megan. Act like they're supporting her when they don't, and just know that she's gonna say that and make me make me think, oh, you see, that's because it's you. It's just trash ass. A woman that's been tortured and raped using this technology. Try to debunk reality in every ways. Stay strong and see this life where they are.